This is Revelation chapter 13, verse 15. And he had power, that he being Esau Edom, the so-called white man, chiefly the elites, to give life unto the image of the image of the beast being his financial, political, and military system, which the mark of the beast microchip implant is going to become the linchpin of soon enough. That the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. And with each passing day, we're getting closer and closer to the mandatory implementation of the mark of the beast microchip implant, to where you're only going to have two options: take the implant and be a part of the New World Order, or don't take it and put your head in a guillotine. Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash, Barakathum. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule and teach well. In peace and salutations to Ya'akim out there pushing this word in truth and sincerity to the four corners of the globe. May you brothers endure until the end. This is the brother Raya with another video. And as I said in my previous video, also dealing with the mark of the beast. Information is coming out daily dealing with applications which are a stepping stone towards the microchip implant, as well as information dealing with the microchip implant outright. 2019 was termed the year of the Charagma, or the year Esau really pushes for this chip, and we're clearly seeing it. And I've got some new information from RT America titled "Coming Cashless Society Revealed by Boys' Case Against Six Flags." What do we have right there? 144, Yahweh willing. And just from this image alone, what do we see? A facial recognition scan, a mark in the forehead, and also a thumbprint scan on the right hand, no less.
A story about a 14-year-old boy named Alexander who visited a Six Flags amusement park in Illinois on a school trip. So Alexander was asked to scan his thumb, his thumb into one of those biometric data capture system things, that we use sometimes. His thumbprint allowed him to get into the park and continue to be a season pass holder, right? The park hadn't got any consent from Alexander or his parents. He was 14 years old, after all. And they have no written policy made available to the public explaining what their process is for keeping or for destroying his very private biometric information. Michelle Greenstein's been looking at this story today. It's got all the way to the Supreme Court, interestingly enough. So goes to the Supreme Court. What did they decide?
Right, so it went to the Illinois State Supreme Court, and this has to do with an interpretation of an Illinois state law called the Biometrics Identification Privacy Act. This was passed in 2008, and this imposes restrictions on private companies about how they can collect and retain and maybe even destroy any biometric identifiers that they take from you. Now, the Illinois Supreme Court ruled that you have standing to sue even if you cannot prove that you have an actual injury. So the Illinois state law says that any aggrieved person has standing to sue. This had to do with an interpretation of the term aggrieved. Now,
and in the end, all these laws protecting the people are futile. You've got some guy down in Arkansas trying to pass laws to protect employees from penalties from their employers from taking a microchip implant, but nothing can happen to avert the mandatory implementation of that microchip implant from coming to pass.
What's interesting about this case is that the Illinois State Supreme Court is reading the law differently than other courts have in the past, including the Seventh Circuit, which is the federal court that covers Illinois. So the Seventh ruled that the term aggrieved denotes some kind of injury. Now the Illinois Supreme Court says it does not. So we will probably see eventually this case go to the U.S. Supreme Court.
All right, so it bounces back and forth between all of these courts, and who knows who's influencing them. But let me ask maybe a more important question. All right, what is the prevalence of this? What is the possibility that this could be happening to me without my even knowing it, by the way?
Right, so that this is going to the U.S. Supreme Court is quite important because private companies are already on their way to using a range of technical tools, of course, in the name of increased revenue. We have Google developing 3D facial recognition. Apple already has their own Face ID. Facebook's artificial intelligence facial recognition software passed tests with near human level accuracy.
And all these major companies are working on behalf of the elites to bring forth their new world order. That's why they're coming out with these facial recognition technologies to get people comfortable with it so they won't be as averse to taking that microchip implant.
And then we have things like Walgreens smart coolers that literally scan your face to learn more about their customers, and they monitor what your eye is drawn to. So, of course, this is all for increased profits, but eventually what we're going to have is everyone's fingerprints, iris, retina scans are going to be tied to every transaction they ever make. So, of course, you know, there are a number of concerns here. One is that this is personal information. What could be more private, right? But even if you did trust these companies, this makes us very susceptible to hacks. And, of course, there's another concern.
And biometric databases have already been hacked in India, for instance. This is from an article on Activist Post that I used in a previous video. It's unprecedented for the government to collect, store, and share this kind of data with this level of detail, with this many agencies and private partners, and the risk to all of us is real. India's Aadhaar biometric database, built to reduce corruption and expanded for use by other public and private groups, keeps getting hacked. It is not only cheap to buy the information of one of the 1.19 billion people in the database, but the hacks also allow for new information to be entered into the database. Rather than increasing security, India's biometric database created more problems and opportunities for corruption. And with these biometric systems being prone to getting hacked, what's the next logical step to protect people's personal information? Get a microchip implant, because as they'll say, it's not as easily hacked.
Which is that subtle psychological messaging that this technology, that use of this technology gives us, especially to kids, that to gain access to knowledge or money, because there are payment systems that use biometric identifiers, food, travel, any sort of item or activity, you have to hand over your privacy. So what we're really seeing is the normalization of a cashless society and the normalization of the extinction of privacy.
And some of that may actually be good from the standpoint of how accessible and how easy it is to live our lives. Some of it, as you point out from the standpoint of privacy, is not good.
For sure.
And the bottom line is this, right? I mean, tell me if I'm wrong. Nothing that involves our children should we be giving consent without our knowledge.
Exactly. And the bottom line is that there should be a public debate. We already know that the FBI has a database that involves over a third of the U.S. Adult population. In addition to the U.S., there are numerous countries with some sort of biometric identification grid that I know of. Let's take a look at this list of countries. This is an extensive list, and this is the only the countries that I was able to find today. So this is everything from passports, border security systems, some other form of ID cards, and what we're really seeing is that we are handing over our biological information.
That's a lot of countries, and she said that's all she could find today. Hey, and he causeth all.
Knowledge about our physical characteristics to these state actors, and whether or not we trust them or not. Let's say we totally trust the government to use this information only, to fight crime or to, normalize things. The fact is that this makes us very susceptible to hackers.
Oh, that's a good report. Well done. I'll tell you what, very complete. Thank you so much for sharing. This is information that we all need. Hey, YouTube.
So as you brothers can see, the march towards a cashless society built off of that microchip implant is getting closer and closer with each passing day. Back in Revelation chapter 13, verse 16, and he causeth all, that he again, being Esau Edom, the so-called white man, chiefly the elites, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, that microchip implant, which you're seeing all the pieces getting put into play, which will lead towards that microchip implant. Verse 17, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name.